As you mentioned there, Cormac Ryan is in the middle of a 6,000 kilometre cycle going from Achill all the way to Athens, expected to end somewhere at the end of this month. He is fundraising for Bodywise, the Eating Disorders Association of Ireland, and Pieta as well. You can go to idonate.ie/Achill to Athens to donate, and we are delighted to be joined right now by Cormac himself. Cormac, good morning to you.
Morning, lads. How are things?
You are somewhere in the back arse of Austria, I suspect.
Yeah, I'm sitting here somewhere along the Danube, about 30k outside Vienna, and we're on the road to Bratislava, which is about another 40k up the road. I haven't seen a car in about 20 minutes, and there's a tiny, random little cafe selling some dodgy pastries and coffees just down to my left.
I would say that we are awfully jealous of your location and the blue sky behind you, but anybody who's been following you on Twitter or Instagram over the last little while realises that this has been a bit of a slog, to say the least. From our perspective, how tough has it been for you?
Do you know what? I'm having the time of my life out here. I'm not going to complain too much or say it's too tough, because it's just turning into be the experience of a lifetime. Like, obviously, look, we're cycling big enough distances every day, and we have a lot of gear to carry with us. So obviously it takes a physical toll, but like when you're wandering around Europe by bike, going through all these places that no one ever goes through, and just meeting all these random people who are doing really nice things for you every day, it's very hard to complain too much or feel too sorry for yourself. Especially when I hear the weather's a bit dodgy back home, so I really can't complain.
To what extent did you have a plan to get from Achill to Athens, and to what extent have you stuck to it, and to what extent have you gone off the beaten path?
So we had a rough idea. Like, we had a kind of 6,000 kilometre path from Achill to Athens, kind of hugging the French coastline and going through northern Italy and Slovenia and Austria and down through Croatia and Albania. So we have a rough path. Now, we do kind of detour as we go along. When you have 58 days to get somewhere, if you want to stop and take a bit of a detour, you can. And inevitably, Google Maps has screwed us on occasion, and we've ended up down the craziest little dirt paths in the middle of forests, in the middle of nowhere, with no phone coverage, completely lost. Like, you just don't know what every day is going to bring, and every day brings something completely random and unusual and borderline hairy moments that you just have to kind of figure out and get through.
What was the hairiest moment so far?
We had a hairy enough moment in Venice. Like, when you're doing this, we either camp out or we stay in like the scaldiest hostel we can find. So we were staying in Venice in a place for like 12 quid a night, and there was no reception, no one at the door. We're knocking on the door, no one answers. Eventually we ring this number, some bloke comes along after 20 minutes. Oh, sorry, I wasn't here. Only one's in the place. It looks like some fella's just random living room that we're sleeping in. There's ants, there's bugs in the bed, there's just a rotten smell, hair in the bathroom. Don't see anyone for the whole evening, no one at reception. About 2 a.m, it's just this crazy banging on the door. We are like, right, do we let this person in? He's saying he has to stay here. No one at reception. We let him in, and then we're like, here, we can't let you into your room. We don't know how to get into the room. So we ended up like raiding your man's desk, finding keys for room number 4, giving that poor old fella a key, and he just wandered in and went to sleep. Like, just bizarre things like that happened, and like, we didn't know who was outside the door. We didn't know whether we were letting some sort of murderer on the loose into us. But yeah, it's just the most random set of events that you could possibly imagine.
For people who've seen it, you've obviously packed up everything. You're carrying a load of gear as well as yourselves throughout Europe at the moment. What's that been like, for example, going through the Alps and doing those massive climbs? I think it was last weekend or maybe midweek this week that you were going through those big climbs.
Yeah, we've crossed over the Alps twice. So we went from cross over the French Alps and then the Austrian Alps. And I suppose that in essence is the hard part about this. Like, if you take a standard road bike or a racing bike, it's about 7 kilos. We're on gravel bikes, which are a bit more durable and can take a bit more punishment. They weigh about 11 kilos. And then on top of that, we're carrying about 15 to 20 kilos of gear each. And then we're climbing 18, 19, 2,000 meters in a day up the Alps, 16, 17% gradients. That's the challenge, is the weight we're carrying. It's not necessarily the distance, it's the self-supported aspect. It's being tired and getting in somewhere in the evening, having to set up your camp, having to find food, having to eat breakfast on the side of a road, like with just the most random kind of bits you can find. Like, we had like jam and tuna sandwiches one morning because there was literally nothing else to eat. Like, it's just, it's not for the faint-hearted, and it's far from glamorous, I can tell you that much.
Jam and tuna, any good?
No, disgusting, lads. Don't try it.
Keep that in mind. How does climbing the Alps compare to climbing Hoth Hill, which I assume was your local training ground?
Yeah, same training ground as you own. I know you're a fan of going up Hoth Hill by bike. So no, it's on a different scale. Like there's no climbing or no hills at home that can even compare to what we've done. It just doesn't exist at home. It's not on the same scale. Even if you go down to the Kingdom or down to West Cork or down to Galway or Mayo, it's just not there. Now the only thing about the hills, they are painful and you do feel the lactic building up in the legs, but like the scenery is just incredible and it's stunning. And do you know what? There's a nice feeling kind of knowing you're getting yourself up them and there's something cool knowing that you're getting yourself across Europe purely with your leg power. So look, I'm very hesitant to complain in any way about the trip we're on.
Can you talk to us a little bit about why you're doing this, Cormac?
Yeah, so I suppose like a short segment like this probably wouldn't do it quite justice, but I would have suffered quite badly with an eating disorder for many, many years, and I kind of hid it for 7-8 years and never really told anyone because I was a male, obviously, and I was convinced that there was kind of something wrong with me and I didn't think this sort of thing happened to males. And I suppose I only really got help for it this summer when kind of I was backed into a corner and had no other choice because my life was just kind of falling apart. So I'm just really trying to get the message out there that like there's a massive lack of eating disorder services in Ireland for men and women, like, and that the public system just isn't capable of handling what people need. And I suppose really the other message I'm trying to get across is that I know 100% there's males out there struggling with eating disorders who just aren't coming forward because they think they're the only ones in the world and the isolation is killing them and that they think this isn't a male problem, but it very much is. And I suffered with it for 8 or 9 years. So we're really just trying to get that message out there that there is help there and there is a way back from it. And if you get the help that you can get, like I did, and I was lucky enough to get, you can keep moving on with life and live quite a fulfilling life, even with the kind of challenges you have to overcome.
Cormac, you've been on the show with us in the past. You've been on telling your story, part of your story, when it came to the heart condition that you were diagnosed with at the age of 18. I think that's 10 years ago this year. How long does it take to recover from something like that and decide that taking on an extraordinary physical endeavour like cycling 6,000 kilometres over the course of a couple of months is something that you can actually do, and the mental challenges behind that?
Yeah, I suppose like when I was hurling with Dublin at minor and 21 level, I ended up getting the pacemaker, and do you know what? It probably just opened my eyes a bit. Really, like I would have been hurling obsessed growing up. It was all I knew, and it probably kind of just made me realise that elite level sport doesn't have to be the be all and end all, and that there's different ways of kind of bringing fulfilment into your life. And I suppose the kind of charity cycling aspect was probably something that kind of just I accidentally fell into, and like. Look, it is a physical challenge, but it's probably nearly as much a mental challenge as anything like this sort of thing. Like you can't think about the end point, or you can't think about Athens because it's so far away. You literally just kind of have to break it down and take it step by step. And there's probably some sort of a metaphor in there for anyone going through any sort of struggles or the type of struggles that I've been through over the last 7, 8, 9 years. There is no quick fix, and you just have to keep plugging away and try taking it day by day. And look, I wouldn't change the pacemaker on what happened. It keeps me fit, it keeps me healthy, and I'm able to do a lot more things now with it than I ever would have been able to do without it. So look, I'm not going to say I haven't had my struggles over the past 7, 8 years, but they all shape and form who you become and what type of person you end up becoming. And after the summer that I've went through with the intensive therapy for 2 months, for the first time in a long time, I actually kind of like who I am now. And I'm just going to keep plugging away and not try and worry too much about what's happened in the past.
Yeah, that's a powerful position to be in itself. Will you talk to us just a little bit about that accommodation that you make for, like, you just brushed over there, look, elite level sport, I had to make an accommodation for that, it's not for me, and then you obviously go down a different path. Was that an easy thing for you to do? Because, like, obviously, as you say, a lot of kids growing up, they just want to play for Dublin, they just want to play at an elite level, but that's like a 0.001% thing. So just talk to us a little bit, if you can, about that accommodation that you make when you reach those heights, and then sort of have to make an accommodation for that not being the future for you.
Well, I suppose it was probably taken out of my hands in a way, Adrian. Like I'm very honest about the fact that when I was playing minor and minor in golf for Dublin, I didn't particularly enjoy it, but I had enough kind of cop on at 18 to realise that I wasn't quick enough to make it outfield, and that playing in goal was my only way that I was ever going to get to play senior hurling for Dublin. And I suppose after the pacemaker, it was such a knock for me mentally at the time, and to be honest, I was never the same player when I came back after the pacemaker. My confidence had drained. I like to play, as we all know, like to play in goal, you have to have a kind of an insane sense of self-belief and confidence. And when I came back after the pacemaker, that was gone. So to be honest, it was taken out of my hands, because when I came back, I simply wasn't good enough on a mental capacity to play in goal for the Dublin senior hurlers. Yeah, I played Dublin under 21 after that, but it wasn't really that I had to make too much of an accommodation for it. It was more so that, like, do you know what, this pacemaker has probably left its mark on me mentally more than physically, and I probably don't have the mental capacity to survive at the elite level. So I suppose I probably pivoted a bit and said, right, what other sort of thing here can give me that kind of sense of fulfillment and joy in my life?
Yeah, cycling across Europe is gonna tick the box, isn't it?
How important has it been for you then, just to finish up, over the last couple of weeks, having two lads by your side? I know it's your cousin and one of your mates who's out there with you. You talk about the mental challenge that it provides. Having two lads out there going through the exact same thing as you, I presume, doesn't hurt one bit.
Oh no, it's amazing. Like, Stephen is my first cousin, and we've been best friends since we were 5 or 6. And Niall, I've played football with since I was 5 or 6, and we've been in school together. And the three of us cycled around Ireland together in 2013. And they're like, having people by your side who are suffering with you when it's piss and rain, and it's a terrible thing to say, but we've all had, like, Stephen had a really bad day on Monday, and Niall had a really bad day on Tuesday, and I had a really bad day on Wednesday. And you don't want to see the other two suffering, but it kind of makes that your own bad day that bit easier to know, hang on, it's normal here at day 30 that I'm having a bit of a bad moment, because the other pair have had it as well. It's just like, we're living in each other's pockets, and I'm not saying we don't get cranky with each other occasionally, of course we do, but like, having the two of them here with me by my side is just such a massive support. And the three of us are pretty close-knit, and we're pretty tight, so we're getting each other through it.
Do you have a date set in mind for your arrival in Athens, or is it kind of taking it as it comes?
October 28th is the date for Athens, so there's a few people flying over Aer Lingus rather than Ryanair, because I know Ryanair can have a few issues sometimes on. So we have a few people coming over to us. So hopefully October 28th, all going to plan, we'll get there.
And idonate.ie/Achill to Athens, is that the best place to donate?
Yeah, that's it. Or if you simply Google Achill to Athens, it comes straight up. So whatever's easiest. Brilliant.
And it's all in aid of body-wise and for Pieta as well. Cormac Ryan, very best of luck with the final stretch. I'm sure it's going to be an absolute joy. Enjoy the rest of the Danube, and we'll chat to you soon, no doubt.
Cheers, lads. Take care. Mind yourselves.